My parents left me at a gas station as a joke. Let's see how long she takes to get home. They drove off, laughing. I never went back. 20 years later, they found me. Today, my phone showed 107 missed calls, but I'm not their daughter anymore. Their betrayal made me strong. Now I'm successful, and they're nothing. My revenge is my new life. So picture this. I'm 15, just a sophomore in high school, and we're on one of those classic family road trips. You know the kind, cramped in the back of a beat-up Honda Civic with my younger brother, listening to my parents bicker about directions while the AC barely works. We'd been driving for like 6 hours straight to visit my aunt in Phoenix, and honestly, I was over it. We pull into this sketchy Chevron station somewhere in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. The kind of place where tumbleweeds probably outnumber the customers, and the only thing for miles is desert and more desert. My dad's pumping gas while my mom goes inside to grab some snacks and use the restroom. I'm stretching my legs, trying to get feeling back into my butt after sitting for so long. My brother's being his usual annoying self, making faces at me through the car window. I flip him off. Yeah, real mature, I know. And he starts laughing like it's the funniest thing ever. That's when my parents come back and they're both grinning like they just thought of the world's greatest prank. Hey, my dad says, still smirking. Why don't you go grab us some Cokes from inside? Get yourself something too. I should have known. Something was up. They never let me pick my own snacks. Always said I'd choose junk and ruin my appetite. But whatever, I was thirsty and figured maybe they were finally treating me like less of a kid. So I walk into the station, grab 4 Coke cans from the cooler, and some Doritos because why not live a little? The cashier's this older guy who looks like he's been working there since the Carter administration. He's making small talk about the weather while I'm digging through my backpack for the 20 my mom gave me earlier. That's when I hear it, the sound of a car engine starting up outside. Now, most people would think nothing of it. Cars start up at gas stations all the time, right? But something in my gut told me to look outside. And there, pulling away from the pump, is our Honda Civic, with my parents and brother inside, driving away, without me. At first, I'm thinking they're just moving the car to a parking spot or something. Maybe they saw a better place to stop. But then I watch them merge onto the highway, and I realize they're actually leaving. Like, for real leaving. Update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading this far. I know it sounds crazy, but it gets worse. Quick question though, if your parents did something like this to you, would you ever forgive them? Because what happened next changed everything for me. The cashier must have seen the look on my face because he goes, "Everything all right, sweetheart?" I'm still holding the Cokes, staring out at the empty spot where our car used to be. My brain's trying to process what just happened, but it's like trying to solve calculus while riding a roller coaster. Nothing's making sense. My family, I managed to say, they drove off. He looks outside, then back at me, and his expression shifts from casual concern to genuine worry. You sure about that? Maybe they're coming back? But I know they're not. Deep down, I know this isn't some quick errand or bathroom break. This is my parents thinking they're hilarious, probably laughing their heads off in the car right now. Let's see how long it takes her to get home. I can practically hear my dad saying it. The thing is, we're like 400 miles from home. 400 miles of desert, highways, and absolutely nothing. I don't have a cell phone. This is 2004, and my parents thought I was too young for one. I've got maybe $30 in my backpack, no ID except my school ID, and I'm wearing flip-flops and shorts in the middle of the desert. The cashier, whose name tag says Frank, starts asking me questions. Where am I from? Do I have anyone I can call? How old am I? I answer as best I can, but honestly, I'm still in shock. This can't be real. Parents don't just abandon their kids at gas stations as jokes, right? Frank lets me use the store phone to call home. The landline rings and rings, but nobody picks up, probably because they're still driving and laughing about their epic prank. I try calling my aunt in Phoenix, but I only remember part of her number, and the operator can't help without the full digits. That's when it hits me. I'm actually stranded. Like, legitimately stuck in the middle of nowhere with no way home, and my parents think this is funny. Frank's a good guy, though. He calls his manager, explains the situation, and they let me hang out in the store while we figure things out. The manager, this tough-looking woman named Rosa, takes one look at me and goes into full mama bear mode. "Those people left you here?" she asks. And when I nod, her face gets this expression like she wants to hunt down my parents and give them a piece of her mind. What kind of parents do that to a kid? That's the moment it really sinks in. What kind of parents do that to their kid? What kind of people think it's hilarious to abandon their 15-year-old daughter in the desert? The more I think about it, the angrier I get. Not just angry, furious. Like seeing red, want to punch something, furious. Rosa calls the local sheriff, and about an hour later, this deputy shows up. He's got that classic small-town cop vibe. Nice enough, but you can tell he's never dealt with anything like this before. He asks me a bunch of questions, takes notes, and keeps shaking his head like he can't believe what he's hearing. "We'll get you home, don't worry," he says. But here's the thing, I don't want to go home. Not anymore. The thought of seeing my parents again, of them probably expecting me to laugh along with their hilarious joke, makes me sick to my stomach. The deputy tries calling my house a few more times, but still no answer. He contacts child services, and they say they'll send someone out, but it'll be a few hours. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in this gas station watching the sun get lower in the sky, trying to figure out what the heck I'm supposed to do with my life now. That's when Rosa makes me an offer that changes everything. "Look, Misha," she says, sitting down next to me on the plastic chairs by the Slurpee machine. "I've got a spare room at my place. Nothing fancy, but it's clean and safe. You can stay there tonight, maybe longer if you need to. I've got kids of my own. Well, they're grown now, but I know what it's like to need help. I should have said no. Should have waited for child services, let them sort it out, probably ended up back home by the weekend. But something in Rosa's eyes tells me she means it. She's not just being polite or following some protocol. She actually cares about what happens to me, so I say yes. Update. I can't believe how many of you are following this story. Rosa basically became my guardian angel, but you won't believe what happened when I finally decided to call my parents back. Should I have given them a chance to explain, or was I right to cut them off completely? The next part gets pretty intense. Living with Rosa was like stepping into a completely different world. Her house was small, but felt more like home than my actual home ever did. She had this way of making you feel important, like your thoughts and feelings actually mattered. She'd ask about my day, help me with homework, and never once made me feel like I was a burden. The deputy checked in every few days at first. My parents had finally called the police after getting home and realizing I wasn't there. Apparently, it took them 6 hours to notice. 6 hours. They tried to play it off like they'd just forgotten me, like it was an honest mistake. But the deputy wasn't buying it, and neither was I. Child services got involved, of course. There were meetings, interviews, home visits. My parents kept insisting it was all a misunderstanding, that they just wanted to teach me some independence. They said they'd plan to come back after an hour or two, but then they got caught up talking and lost track of time. Bull, total. Bull, and everyone knew it. The social worker assigned to my case was this no-nonsense woman named Patricia, who'd seen it all. She sat me down and explained my options. I could go back home with my parents. They'd completed some parenting classes and promised it would never happen again. Or I could stay with Rosa, who'd applied to become my foster parent. The choice was obvious. My parents fought it, of course. They hired a lawyer, claimed I was being dramatic, said teenagers always blow things out of proportion. They told everyone who'd listen that they were good parents who'd just made one tiny mistake. One tiny mistake that involved abandoning their child in the desert for a laugh. The court didn't see it their way. Rosa got temporary custody and eventually permanent guardianship. I finished high school living with her, and she was at my graduation cheering louder than any parent I'd ever seen. College was the next challenge. Rosa worked 2 jobs to help pay for it, even though I qualified for financial aid. She said education was the most important thing, that it would give me choices my parents never had. She was right, as usual. Studied business and marketing, worked my butt off, graduated with honors, got an internship at a tech startup that turned into a full-time job, which turned into a management position, which eventually led to me starting my own consulting firm. None of it was easy, but Rosa was there every step of the way, believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. My parents? They tried to contact me a few times over the years. Birthday cards that went straight into the trash, phone calls I never answered. They even showed up at my college graduation, but security escorted them out when I told them I didn't want them there. Rosa held my hand the whole time, reminding me that I had every right to choose who was in my life. I changed my last name legally when I turned 21, took Rosa's name, made it official. She cried when I told her, said it was the greatest honor anyone had ever given her. For me, it was just acknowledging what had been true for years. She was my real family. The years went by fast after that. My business grew. I bought a house, got married to an amazing guy who understood my history, and never pushed me to reconcile with my biological parents. Rosa was my maid of honor, walked me down the aisle, gave the most beautiful speech about how proud she was of the woman I'd become. I thought about my biological parents sometimes, sure. Wondered if they'd changed, if they ever really understood what they'd done to me. But I was happy. Genuinely, completely happy. I had people who loved me, a career I was passionate about, and a life I'd built from scratch. What more could I want? Then 3 weeks ago, everything changed. I was in a meeting with clients when my assistant knocked on the conference room door. She looked flustered, which was unusual. Sarah never gets flustered. "I'm sorry to interrupt," she said, "but there's been about 20 calls for you in the last hour. The same people, very insistent. They say they're your parents." My blood went cold. 20 years of silence, and now they were calling my office? How had they even found me? I excused myself from the meeting and went to my office. Sure enough, my phone was lighting up with missed calls from a number I didn't recognize. As I watched, it started ringing again. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Hello? Oh my God, is this really you? Sweetheart, we've been looking for you for so long." My mother's voice, older, maybe a little shakier, but definitely her. Hearing it after all these years was like getting punched in the stomach. "How did you get this number?" I asked. "We hired a private investigator. It took months, but we finally found you. You've done so well for yourself. We saw your company online and we're so proud." "Stop," I cut her off. "Just stop. You don't get to be proud. You don't get to call me sweetheart. You abandoned me at a gas station when I was 15 years old." "It was a mistake," she said, and I could hear tears in her voice. "We were young and stupid, and we've regretted it every single day since. Please, can we just talk? Can we meet somewhere? Your father and I just want to explain." I hung up, but they didn't stop calling. Every few minutes, my phone would ring. Sometimes it was my mother, sometimes my father, once even my brother. They left voicemails, sent emails to my business account, even tried reaching out through social media. All the same message. They were sorry. They wanted to make things right. They missed me. They loved me. Too little, too late. Update. The calls haven't stopped, and now they're getting desperate. They've started showing up places, and I had to involve lawyers. But here's what I realized. I don't need their apology or their excuses. My success is my revenge. Should I tell you how I finally handled them, or do you think I should have given them one chance to explain themselves after all these years? Yesterday was the breaking point. I was leaving my office around 7, late meeting with a potential investor, when I saw them in the parking garage. Both of them, looking older and more worn down than I remembered, standing next to my car like they'd been waiting for hours. My father spoke first. Please, just 5 minutes, that's all we're asking. They looked pathetic, honestly. My dad's hair had gone completely gray and he'd put on probably 50 pounds. My mom looked like she'd aged 20 years in the past 10. Part of me felt sorry for them, but a bigger part of me remembered that 15-year-old girl crying in a gas station bathroom, wondering what she'd done wrong to deserve being abandoned. 5 minutes? I said. You want 5 minutes after 20 years? We know we messed up, my mother said. We know we hurt you, but we were kids ourselves back then. I was only 32, your dad was 34. We didn't know how to handle things, how to be good parents. We thought we were being funny, teaching you independence. By leaving me in the desert? It wasn't supposed to go that far, my father jumped in. We were going to come back, but then we started talking about things and time got away from us and 6 hours, I said. It took you 6 hours to realize you'd left your daughter behind. They both started talking at once, making excuses, trying to explain. But I wasn't interested in their explanations anymore. I'd spent 20 years building a life without them, becoming someone I was proud of. They'd spent 20 years, what? Regretting their choices? Missing me? If they'd really missed me, they would have tried harder to find me sooner. Here's the thing, I said, cutting off their rambling apologies. I don't need you anymore. I haven't needed you for a very long time. I have a family, a real family who chose to love me when you chose to abandon me. I have a successful business, a beautiful home, a husband who treats me like I matter. I built all of this without you. But we're your parents, my mother said, like that meant something. No, I replied. Rosa Martinez is my parent. She's the one who raised me, supported me, loved me unconditionally. You're just the people who gave birth to me and then left me at a Chevron station for laughs. I got in my car and drove away, leaving them standing there in the parking garage. And, you know what? It felt incredible. For 20 years, I'd wondered what I'd say to them if I ever saw them again. Turns out the truth was enough. They called a few more times after that, but I blocked their numbers. Had my lawyer send a cease and desist letter. Changed my office security protocols. I wasn't about to let them disrupt the life I'd worked so hard to build. Rosa always told me that success is the best revenge, and she was right. My biological parents wanted to see what had become of the daughter they'd abandoned. Well, now they knew. I'd become someone amazing, no thanks to them. Last week, I got a letter from my brother. Apparently, my parents have been struggling financially for years. Dad lost his job, they're behind on their mortgage, facing foreclosure. They'd hoped that reaching out to their successful daughter might lead to some help, maybe a loan to get back on their feet. I laughed when I read it. After everything, they still thought I owed them something. They thought that sharing DNA with me gave them the right to my success, my money, my life. I wrote back, one sentence. You made your choice 20 years ago at that gas station. Live with it. Today marks exactly 20 years since they drove away and left me standing in that Chevron station. 20 years since I thought my world was ending. Turns out it was just beginning. I'm successful, happy, and surrounded by people who actually love me. Rose is coming to dinner tonight, she does every Sunday, and we'll probably end up looking through old photo albums and laughing about something ridiculous. My husband's making his famous barbecue chicken, and we might watch a movie or play board games until way too late. My biological parents? Last I heard, they lost the house. Had to move in with my brother and his family, which apparently isn't going well. They're probably still telling people about their daughter who became successful and then turned her back on them, conveniently leaving out the part where they abandoned that daughter in the desert when she was a kid. Sometimes people ask if I ever regret not giving them a second chance. The answer is simple. They had their chance. They had 15 years of chances and they chose to waste the biggest one by treating their child like a punchline to a cruel joke. I don't owe them forgiveness. I don't owe them a relationship. I don't owe them anything. What I do have is a life I'm proud of, built on my own terms with people who deserve to be in it. Rosa taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about choice, commitment, and unconditional love. My biological parents never understood that. Their loss became my gain. Their cruelty became my strength. Their abandonment became my independence. And honestly, I wouldn't change a thing. That scared 15-year-old girl at the gas station grew up to be someone pretty amazing. She just had to learn that sometimes the family you choose is better than the one you're born with. My phone hasn't rung with their number in over a week now. I think they finally got the message. Good. I've got better things to do than waste time on people who stopped being my family the moment they drove away. Laughing, leaving their daughter stranded in the desert. Success really is the best revenge. And mine tastes absolutely perfect.